Well, howdy there, folks. James, Political Friar, coming to you again. Got the University of Oregon hat on, and so we're going to have a political topic today. This is one that I wanted to just pick out and analyze a little bit because it is so typical of what we ought to expect from a Trump administration, and that is his choices for cabinet secretaries and what they say about his attitude towards government in general. Now, there are many liberals out there who are screaming and have their pants on fire about the idea that Matt Gaetz is nominated to be the Secretary of Defense and that you've got woefully unqualified Linda McMahon going to become the Secretary of Education, among others. I'm not going to list them all, but the people that Donald Trump is nominating for office, the cabinet secretaries, are they they're bizarre. I mean, there's not a better word for it. Outside of Marco Rubio for state, there isn't a kind of quote unquote normal pick among them. Uh, that is to say, Donald Trump is not picking people for these jobs based on their qualifications to do the job. Actually, doing the job is entirely secondary to Donald Trump's motive, if not tertiary or not even considered. See, Donald Trump's selection is in line with a classic strongman approach to government. It is to say that the strongman is the key indispensable figure, and anything that supports the strongman's power is good for the state. It's not just good for the strongman, it's actually good for the country. This is famously embodied by Louis XIV's idea that je suis l'état, that is, I am the state. So when a person like Donald Trump sees his interests as synonymous with the state's interests, he'll go ahead and pick folks that are 100% in his personal interests, not any sense or regard for the state's interests being remotely separate. And with that in mind, you start seeing why Tulsi Gabbard might be a good person to put in charge of the intelligence agencies, despite the fact that she has absolutely no experience whatsoever running anything like that or in intelligence. She was in the Air Force, but that's not the point. The point is, all of these people are personally loyal to Donald Trump. They may take an oath to the Constitution, but they understand that Trump comes first. And that's the key feature for every one of the people that Donald Trump has nominated. They have, in essence, taken an loyalty pledge to put Donald Trump ahead of country. And that keeps Donald Trump safe. Remember his last run through as president, his attitude of putting himself before country was widely resisted. It is so anathema to the norms that American government has had for 200 plus years, coming up on 250 years, that the system resisted him. The deep state said, no, this isn't how you're supposed to act. You're supposed to put country first. And Donald Trump says, what sort of putz would put country first? What sort of putz would go to war and die for his country? What a loser. That is not Donald Trump's attitude. He is there to promote his own interests. And I genuinely believe that he thinks his own interests are synonymous with the interests of the United States. He's not anti-American in that regard. He's just pro-Trump. And all that is good for Trump is good for America. Definition QED. With that in mind, you will see how the loyalty to Donald Trump becomes preeminent over literally anything. Competence, ability to do the job, corruption, it doesn't matter. It's the idea that the person that you're nominating might very well be a child rapist in Matt Gaetz, yeah, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that when push comes to shove, they're going to shove against the enemies that Donald Trump identifies and will protect Donald Trump from anything. The idea that he could go out on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody is, yeah, it's true for the people that he's willing to put in a position of power like a cabinet secretary. Think of the 25th Amendment, if you will. The 25th Amendment allows the cabinet, along with the vice president, to temporarily and then permanently remove a president. Well, that's something that simply will not happen. It will not matter what Donald Trump does or the decline that a 78-year-old may be suffering mentally, 79-year-old may be suffering mentally because these folks that he's surrounding himself with are sycophants. They're sycophants, and they're sycophants for various reasons. In the case of Elise Stefanik, she's just a power hungry person who wants to be in control of things, probably because she thinks she would do a good job. You know what? She might do a good job, but she's that cynical. JD Vance, I believe, is similarly cynical. I think Matt Gaetz is partially that cynical and partially just trying to save his own hide. If some of the things that are rumored to be out there about him, he might need the cover of a cabinet secretary job, much like Donald Trump needs the cover of the presidency to stay out of trouble. Others are probably some variety of odd true believer in the ascendancy of Donald Trump as being the right person to run the country, in that the country's motives and interests are actually aligned with Donald Trump's motives and interests. There are royalists out there who really do want to serve the big monkey because it is the safest thing to do. Now, Donald Trump is acting in line with normal human governance. He's way out of line for American governance, but again, that doesn't matter. And apparently, the American people don't care. Well, that's what we voted for. And I, as a small d Democrat, am going to grin and bear it because the majority rule process and that ideal is both the scariest thing and can put someone like Donald Trump in charge, but it's also the thing that will balance out Donald Trump's worst successes in time. The country will muddle through. Democracies are resilient that way, in that you keep having votes and doing the forms, and usually public opinion will come around, if but slowly. It reminds me of the Winston Churchill quote that Americans always do the right thing after trying everything else first. Anyway, that's just a thought. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Hit that like button, maybe the subscribe. Tell me how wrong I am, please, if you think that this is something else entirely. The takeaway here is Donald Trump is behaving like we expected him to. And if you don't like it, well, when people tell you who they are, believe them. Anyway, I appreciate you. Thanks.